live, going hot. You're here on the Divide on WRFZ 106.3, Rochester Free Radio. You're here listening to the Divide with me, Marcus C. Williams, and we've got Brian here in the house. Thanks for coming back, Brian.
Hey, yeah, you knew eventually.
We missed you, bro. Where you been?
Been doing a lot with my job. Had a big project kind of out of town, and it would be a little tough to get here, so decided to take like the month. But from what I've heard and what I listened to, you've done an awesome job, and I think it's gonna be more fun though with both of us here.
Dynamite. It's so fantastic. Now we are here together to jump on the scene and get into some real good things and get in between. So what do we got? What are you interested in today, Brian?
Let's start local.
Okay.
I want to start with the county meeting the other day where the pro-Palestinian protesters decided to take over, come in.
I was at that meeting.
Were you?
I was.
Okay. Well then, once all the politicians decided to stand up and leave, which they should have, there's two that stayed back. The one I do not know who it was, but other one I do. It's a city council member. And Stanley Martin, who has a history of controversial opinions and statements. And
I didn't even notice she was there.
right?
I missed that.
Yep, I heard it right on the radio.
Oh, wow.
On the news. I mean, it was on the little news break on 1180. So they were saying she chanted along right with them too, saying "Death to Israel," from the river to the sea, all that good stuff. Bad stuff, really, but all that stuff. And it's just time. I can't believe she's still there, to be honest. But
remember, people, there is an election 2025 for city council. So definitely, if there are people that are out there on city council right now that are going against the policies and stuff that you believe in,
yeah, they work for you.
They work for you, right?
I mean, it's that simple. And I find it really hard to believe that the people in her district, or if she's at large, I don't know if she's at large. If she's at large. Okay, I find it hard to believe that the people of Rochester support such nonsense and the things she's done. At the last city council meeting, actually it was like 2 or 3 ago.
There's a city council meeting tonight.
Is it?
Is.
Check it out.
If you live in the city of Rochester, I do encourage you to call down the city council and see if you can sign up to speak tonight if you have any issues that you're concerned about or would like to express about. But definitely at least come sit in the audience and see what's going on.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
know what's going on in your community.
A couple times ago, they were talking about the officer that had to defend himself when he was attacked and shot the perpetrator. He didn't die, but he ended up getting Officer of the Month for that in New York State.
I saw that.
Yeah, which is great. But at that meeting, Stanley Martin and the other two that you would expect spoke up against it and said, really railed on Chief Dave for that. And I think they expected a different response from the crowd and from the other council members, because what they got was totally the opposite opinion. They were booed. They were told by Patterson, I believe.
Okay.
He stood up and he said it, that person got shot because of their actions. Those were his exact words. Their actions. He goes, and the officer had to do that because he was going for the officer's gun, and he really laid it in on him. And still, it didn't click with them. They still came back with some nonsense, and it just blows my mind that most of the people in this city feel that same way that they do. I think it's just time. You got to look who you're voting for and realize what these people's opinions, what their ideology is.
Well, on that note, I believe a couple of things, and this is something that we just saw in the last election. We only saw about 30% of the people in the whole county come out. When people, and this is an issue as me as somebody who identifies as being a conservative individual, more traditional values, and is a member of the Republican Party, where I see a very serious disconnect. People that are conservative or are more so, what would you say, realistic and minded individuals.
Yes, exactly.
They actually will get online and they'll say stuff like, "Oh, well, you voted for this. The elections have repercussions and stuff like this." They do. But a lot of people don't realize just because somebody is labeled a Democrat or they're a Democrat doesn't mean that they voted for this.
Nope.
It doesn't mean that they voted at all. and seeing after last election, 70% of everybody didn't vote. I think that that's worth a larger conversation on how we get out the message.
Yes.
That we need more common sense policies, that we need people that are willing to vote for more reasonable things. But in order to get them to vote like that, we've got to encourage them to come over to the Republican Party. We've got to encourage them
At
to
least
have
their
open
ideology
ballots.
to change. We need their ideology
Well,
to change, their thought process, to realize what these people. I think they are lied to a lot too. I mean, there's no doubt about
So
that.
that's one group of people, and largely that will be people who vote more to the far left progressive side.
Yeah.
But the people that are more so moderate or don't vote at all, we can't hammer them that, oh, it's the Democrats, oh, if you're a Democrat, you're a terrible person.
Yeah,
No, we've got to get the message out that we want them to consider the Republican Party
Correct.
as far as our candidates for what we are pushing as far as policy. Everything goes back to policy. It goes back to the individual, and it goes back to the policies that they are promoting. Many times what we see is we see with the elected officials, especially the Democrats, a lot of Democrats get disheartened because they're like, oh, well, I always vote Democrat. Why should I even bother voting anymore?
Yes, yep.
I'm discouraged because what they don't realize is they get a new nameplate, but the Democrats still own the office. What it is it's the policies.
Yes,
it's
correct,
the policies, the policies, the policies, the policies, which goes back to exactly what you were talking about with Chief David, with Stanley Martin. Stanley Martin has had a history of promoting anti-police policies, promoting pro-criminal policies, and those are policies that are impacting all of our communities.
We've seen it over the last 3 years. I mean, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. We have the results. That we don't need to look any farther than this city right here to find out the results of laws that are, pro-criminal, anti. I would like to say anti-public, because it's the whole public that, that ends up paying the price. I said you got 99% of the people in the city that are law-abiding citizens, and you have a small portion, I think they said the same few hundred people that commit all of the felonies, the violent crimes, things like that.
Precisely.
We got 200 and something, about 200,000 people in the city. So you look and you say, well, those people don't want criminals here. There's no doubt about it. So why would you create laws under the guise of racial and social equity that just help criminals? I'm like, wait, it didn't help 200,000 people. It helped 200 people. And it's like, if you explain that to people and talk to people about that, they begin to understand.
Yes.
And they start to realize, wait, you're right. That makes no sense. How did it help me at all? And my house got shot up. That's how, it didn't help you.
When it comes into things like this, I always bring this up. Matter of fact, I posted on my Twitter. If you check out my Twitter, it's at Marcus 4 ROC. If you check that out, I put up a post the other day detailing, do Democrats hate black people?
I saw that. Yeah.
It's not them specifically, right?
Yeah.
It's the party's policy.
Exactly.
And here's what we're seeing. These people claim, and I'm just repeating what they claim, so don't be mad at me, people out there listening in Radio Land and on the internet. They say we support black people. They say we support those in poverty. They say that they care about people that are in unions and stuff like that. Well, let's break it down. Those groups tend to be working class individuals. They tend to be people that are more so on the scale of poverty, low income type of individuals that live in neighborhoods that would generally be considered less safe than the more affluent neighborhoods. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely.
So with that being said, when you let out all of these criminals, when you defund the police, where do we see the highest increases in crime? In those same communities.
You think that would be common sense?
In the same communities.
Of course. Of course.
I don't see these car robbers going out and going into moving into Park Ave neighborhood. I don't see them having any apartments.
No, and it's just it goes back to not just poverty, but a culture of the way it's been. Poverty is a huge part of this, but it's not in the way like AOC says. It's not because they're stealing because they need bread. No. It's not that at all. It's the fact that an A student could be on his way to school, right? Now he's an A student, he's an athlete, he's great, but his mom's struggling to pay the bills. We're getting evicted. He's got 2 brothers. They're not eating well, and somebody at the corner says, "Hey, I can get you $1,000 a week if you help me for a few hours." Pretty tempting, right?
Yeah,
Pretty tempting, unfortunately. And there's an A student athlete who just now he has a felony on his record a year later, and cycle begins.
Well, it's the systematic disenfranchisement of a people, and when I say of a people, I mean of the people. A large segmentation of a socioeconomic class that's legitimately pretty much everything below the more affluent class. You're talking about everybody below the top 30%
Yep.
in earners
Mhm.
are being subjugated to this. We look at the decrepancy of the schools, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, the schools, and they try to say, oh, well, we've got a 71% graduation rate. Okay, let's break that down. First of all, you've lowered the standards.
Yes.
In many of the schools, they've taken away the grading system from being A's and B's. They've got
Yeah,
rid of that.
oh,
That
yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Then, on top of that, we have the lowest proficiency score out of the 78 major metropolitan school districts. We are 77 on the bottom of the scale.
Solid.
It's insane, and we are number 1 for the spending as far as school districts in the whole nation. So somebody tell me what we're getting out of this. And that, again, it goes back to policies. Who's pushing more policies that want us fund and throw more money at things? Throw more money at the schools. They just need more money. Well, we've got the most money already for the schools.
Exactly, yeah.
We've got less students than ever. They're talking about, matter of fact, right now, right this very second, they are closing
Yep.
more and more schools in the city of Rochester.
A bunch of them, yeah.
In the RCSD, we've got less students now more than ever. We've got less teachers now more than ever, but we've got more money than everybody else in the country. What is going on here?
It's insanity.
The policies.
Exactly. That's all it is. And the policies haven't. Now, this isn't a new thing. Anybody who actually researches political history has to understand this is cyclical. This same attempt with the police, with these policies, has been tried and it's failed every time it's been tried because it doesn't work. Well, Sweden has this and this little country has it. Well, those countries are the size of Delaware. So you know what? Maybe they can withstand it, but we can't.
Well, but it also has to do with culture, and anybody knows that American culture is completely different than any other country.
Absolutely, yes. Yep. I mean, it's and that's the problem. That's what some of these groups are trying to take away from the American culture, which is first and foremost reward for hard work. You know, it's suddenly that's not something that should be even said or stated because that's not fair. Well, it actually is fair. It's pretty much the fairest thing you can do. And it goes back to, I actually had this down to talk about it, how the left always says, we're for black people, we're for this group. And it all goes to Israel too. They consider
to me in the policies.
Yeah, they consider the Israelis white and the Palestinians brown. So obviously they gotta be the good guys, the brown guys. And it's an insult to minorities because these white liberals believe that the minorities cannot exist without their help. And they truly believe that.
Wait. Ryan, what did you say? What did you say? Did you just say, let me clarify what you just said. Did you just say that these people who are white liberal progressives seem to have some complex of superiority?
Yeah, a little bit so.
In which the people that are of other races or of lesser means are not able to decide what is best for themselves.
Correct. So
they need them.
Exactly. So if people are failing in school, those same people they don't say, okay, let's lift these people up, give them better education so they can pass these exams. No, it's let's lower the standards.
Yes.
That's the most racist thing you could do. You just called a whole class of people not as smart as you.
My. I mean, it sounds like they think that they know better than all these other people. I think that goes, and this isn't to beat this horse because I don't really want to go into it a lot, but it goes into what we were talking about with the crazy Antifa people that are now, wait, let's start from the beginning. First, there were BLM people, that again, largely suburbs, largely affluent, largely these leftist progressive whites.
Yep.
Okay. And we have to identify it for what it is.
Of course.
You understand what I'm saying? People that are completely detached from the neighborhoods and communities that they so-called speak up for. Then they morphed into Antifa. Then they started to go all pro-Ukraine, which kind of shifted into pro-Israel, pro-Palestine now,
Yep.
which is just a continued movement forward. These are people who are so lost from themselves. They don't have a sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
They feel desperately this intense anger and rage because they don't know themselves. And also, most of them are absent of the Lord. They don't know the Lord.
No, they definitely don't.
They don't know the Lord. So they've got this gnawing, clawing feeling because they don't know who they are. They don't know what they're about. They're frustrated. And that frustration must be let out.
Yes.
It must be let out in any way possible where they can act a fool and they feel that they will not get punished. And again, it started with the BLM stuff.
Yep.
They saw that they could act a raw riot and not get punished.
Correct.
Burning down buildings, tearing up facilities.
There was no penalty for your actions at all.
Nothing. And now we are here, and now it's all this pro-Palestine stuff, which is a whole separate conversation in like 5 episodes in itself.
Yeah.
But to me, what you were talking about, that moral superiority, that savior type of concept, where they know best for everybody else underneath them, is most exemplified by Queers for Palestine.
I see. I'm not that familiar with that.
So Queers for Palestine.
I mean, I've definitely heard of them. But.
So Queers for Palestine are this loose collective. Okay, they're not real associated with each other, but so they're like individual cells. But they all identify as being part of this group. If you're some sort of alphabet person and you're pro-Palestine.
Now you do know what would happen to someone in the alphabet if they were at Palestine.
No.
Right?
So this is my point.
All right.
The hubris, you know, that they don't understand that if they were actually in Palestine, a vastly Muslim majority.
Yeah, a radical Muslim too.
With the yes. With radical Islam, that they be tossed off of buildings.
Absolutely. You drop your flag outside your window in an apartment in Palestine, in Gaza. You'll be grabbed by the Hamas within 25 minutes.
Oh, see, it's insane, and it just shows that hubris, that we're so much better, we know so well, but you don't.
No, you don't.
But you don't. Please stop thinking that you understand other people's culture and that they need you to save them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest issues.
And not thinking for yourself is another one. And you know, so many people, they're out there. For example, let's use Brockport for an example. When the cop killer came to speak,
yes. I remember that.
Remember that? Now they had people protesting that he was there. They also had people protesting that he should be there. Now there was this girl that one of the local news station went up to. She was on the other side. She thought
I was out there that day,
so they went up to
her. Out there, yeah.
And they said, "Why are you here?" She said, "Because we need to fight for black people and minority rights." And they're like, "Wait, what's this group here for?" She said, "We need to fight for black people to be able to have the same rights." They said, "That's not even what this is about."
Yep.
Like she had no clue why she was even there.
Yes,
like
sir.
The main reason. And it's just insane because you see so many sheep just following each other in these things.
So now to your note, do you remember the drag show Storytime in Pittsburgh?
Yes, yeah. Yep.
So I was out there too, and I talked to a lot of individuals. I did a whole, if you guys follow me on YouTube, it's at Marcus C. Williams. Okay, follow me on YouTube. There's a video on there that I did about that whole incident, and I go in depth on who I talked to, what they were saying, and different things like that. One of the biggest things that I pulled away from there is that none of them were actually out there to support the Drag Time Story Hour. They're like, we're supporting alphabet rights, we're supporting parental rights.
Right.
I'm here because my friend asked me to come. I'm here because I want to feel like I'm a part of something, which is really, that was the best answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
That's really what it is. Like, they don't know what they're there for, and they don't even care. They just want to be seen. They want to feel like they're a part of something, because we have put through in culture in the last decade, I'd say last generation, we've pushed away different teams and stuff in school. We've gotten rid of all the clubs.
Yep.
So people aren't able to find their like-minded people. We've told them that a boy doesn't have to be a boy and a girl doesn't have to be a girl. They have no sense of self. We've told them that everybody gets a trophy, that everybody's
competition's dead.
Competition's dead. Yeah.
I was telling my parents the other day that I heard the story from another talk show. He said he has friends that their son just graduated from college with a degree. He gets this great job offer for almost 90 grand a year, right?
Yeah.
He turns it down. They say, what's going on? Well,
Right.
they wanted me to come into the office 5 days a week.
It's crazy, right?
Crazy.
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 You ever seen the people? Go ahead.
It comes from the whole, I mean, this is all related. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
point, I guess. It's all related because it all stems back to the erosion of American values and a dumbed down community.
Well, you know what? And I'll challenge you on that one, especially with the foreign interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this kind of the epitome of America?
That's kind of true.
It is, right? The concept behind America, and I know some people might argue that it's not, but think about it. This is go west, young man.
Yep.
That's exactly what this is. We are the people. We are the bestest.
Mhm.
We know what's righteous. We, no matter who's there already, we must be the people who are driving everything.
Yes, we gotta help you. We're here to help. We're here to help.
We're
here to
from
help.
the government, and
We're here to help, but we're gonna switch your whole government around. And
Yeah.
change it.
We're gonna change your religion and everything else.
What's funny is though that used to, believe it or not, that used to be a very right wing thing as far as the foreign policy goes.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of switched over, and it's moved to both parties have a section of people who feel that way,
Yeah.
who still feel that way, and they feel like, okay, well, we have to be in Ukraine, we have to do this, we have to go. We have to go into this place. We have to go to this place and fix their government. How does it work when we fix government? How do they end up doing? Do they do well when we fix governments? No, they don't do very well.
Listen, I'd like to say, as from the old adage that we don't have to do nothing but stay black and die, but Michael Jackson proved that we don't even have to stay black.
That's a fact.
So it's funny to me that anybody's like, and this has always been the sell since I was little and even since before I was born. With the wars, we've got to fight for democracy. Well, let's talk about that. First things first. We're not a democracy.
Not even close.
We're a constitutional republic or a representative republic.
A democracy is where 51% of the population oppresses 49% on every issue.
That's exactly what it is. So, but they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the fact that nobody from these countries asked us to come over there, which is funny because right now with this whole pro-Palestine insanity, who from Palestine asked you for your help?
Right?
Nobody asked you to get involved. They don't even like you. What do you?
That's the best line you've said right there. They don't even like you, and that's a fact. They don't even like you. They don't want you here. They don't want you to help anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
we helped enough when we created Al Qaeda and ISIS.
Yep.
I said what I said. Proven fact. Not only did we finance ISIS, we also financed Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. We also financed the Mujahideen. And if you don't know about what the Mujahideen is, you need to go look into it in the history of
look into that because it's actually some direct financing too. That's not even.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about like how we're financing Iran is financing Hamas. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about straight direct financing too. You got to look into that. It's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, we can't talk about these things because whenever you talk to these people, and going back to the meeting, I was at the meeting. There was this one crazy bull-looking female there. Okay, I don't know how she identifies, so I'm not gonna suppose her pronouns. But this individual, aside from using colorful language, thought very much so that we shouldn't be funding Israel. I don't think that we should be funding Israel.
I don't think we need to fund anybody, to be honest.
Well, I don't think we should fund anybody. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not about it. It's not about Israel.
No.
Okay, and I talked about this before. Fourth largest economy in the world. Okay, fourth largest military in the world. Number one intelligence agency in the world, and they're fighting people with mortars that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I don't think that they need any of our help. Okay, it's just.
They also don't need our criticism. We need to just
mind our daggone business.
Exactly. That's the bottom line.
And that's always been my philosophy as far as us in foreign engagements is if we're not over there to take territory for the United States of America and annex that territory and incorporate it in the U.S., we have no business over there.
Or if it's not a direct threat to our country, like, I mean,
No, I'm not even for. Even if it is a direct, I don't care. Direct threat, not a direct threat. If we're not taking land, we don't have any business. if they are a direct threat, see, because for me, and I don't say this lightly, I don't say this lightly. Like I say, if I was ever disappeared in a foreign country, turn the whole place to glass.
Yeah.
No, I don't want one piece of sand, one tree to stand. Okay, none of it. Turn the whole place to glass. Okay, and I understand the destructiveness of nuclear warfare.
Yeah.
And I would never say that I endorse such a thing. But the fact of the matter is we have to be realistic. These people over in these areas that we continue to decide that we want to have engagements with have such a rough quality of life, and Americans have had it so cushy for almost the last 100-something years. And even when times were more tough, like back in the Depression, still yet compared to many other countries.
Yes, compared to other places.
And we don't have that understanding of what they understand as life. Life for them is hard. Life for them is rough. If you are not powerful, you are weak. You can at any given time have everything that you have taken from you. They do not care about your morals. They do not care about your virtuism. They do not care about anything. And if you do not show them aggressive levels of high power, they will get rid of you.
Correct.
And they will fight you to the last man. So, for instance, they're like, oh, well, it's a genocide over in Palestine right now. Okay, here's my question to you. A genocide of who?
Yeah.
So now you say, well, Palestinians. Okay, then you ask the question, well, who are Palestinians? So are you talking the Jews that are Palestinians?
Right.
Are you talking the Muslims that are Palestinians?
Yep.
Are you talking the Christians that are Palestinians? Yep.
Are you talking about the Palestinians who work in Israel every day? I mean,
well, so who is actually I think that's the first conversation, because you can't say that all the people in Gaza are Palestinian.
No.
You can't say all the people in the West Bank are Palestinian.
No.
Okay, you can't say all the people in Israel are Palestinian.
Absolutely.
Okay, so but before Israel as a nation state, and I say that intentionally to separate the religion of Judaism from the actual state of Israel.
Yes.
Okay, because that's a very important distinction,
of course,
which these pro-Palestinian people, okay, are not making.
Yeah.
And they're over here in America terrorizing our American Jews. Okay,
yeah, right.
Who are minding their daggone business,
going along with their lives, trying to provide for themselves and their family. Yep.
They're not over in Israel. They're not over there in Gaza. They're not doing any of that.
Nothing.
They got no business with any of that. They might have a cousin that's over there that calls them once a week.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Or they might be watching news at night, hoping things go the way they go. But come on, what are they doing here?
Why are you bothering them? So the nation state of Israel, when it was founded, before that, everybody was considered to be Palestinian. All of the Jews that were there were considered Palestinian, and many of the old folks, if they're still alive, will tell you that before that time that was what their passport said and everything. You know, because that was part of them being part of Britain after World War II, World War I,
before 48,
World War II.
1948.
Yeah. There's a lot of immediate history right surrounding that between World War I and World War II that's continuously neglected. Not even talking about before that, okay? Because don't get me started, because I'd be like, reform the kingdom of Jerusalem. Don't mess with me. You don't want me. I want them to do whatever they want over there, because what I want over there is not what they want over there. And I want to be as supportive of anybody that is an ally to the U.S. as possible without interfering in international relations.
Like for Biden to say the only solution is a two-state solution. No, who are you to say that? Who are you to say that? And they need to change. Netanyahu needs to change the way he governs with a hardline government. Are you serious right now? He's hated Netanyahu anyways.
Well, I mean, they're going to boot Netanyahu. There's a protest in Tel Aviv right now, a really big one against him. And they've been rallying against Netanyahu pretty much the whole year, right up until October 7th, which is very interesting. It just seemed very interesting that the strongman that's in control of all of the intelligence and all of the military and all of Mossad just somehow missed this. And so,
I still don't understand that, how the U.S. and Israeli intelligence missed this. We have constant
intelligence. I don't understand. Jordanian intelligence, and Jordan is 5 seconds from falling in themselves. They've got their own stuff going on over there. I wonder, did they ever get that garbage mess situation cleaned up? Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so it's almost the top of the hour. You know what that means? Yep. You're listening to The Divide on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio, and we'd like to give a shout out today to Mac Remodeling. Well, what are we? We're giving a shout out to ourselves today. That's what we're doing today. Happy Us Day. That's what we're doing.
Happy Us Day.
Happy Us Day.
Happy
Happy
Us
You
Day.
Day. Happy You Day if you're listening day.
That's right.
Okay? Sponsored by people that are interested in doing things and stuff.
I was gonna say with this whole thing, it's again like we talked about with every other subject. It's a bunch. The left worries about misinformation so much when these groups that are protesting and that are pro-Palestinian and that are the ones that are hardcore pro-Ukraine talk about misinformation. They do not look past the tip of their nose. First of all, if they just hear something, see it on Facebook, and that's the truth. That's the truth, and that's how it's going to go. And then you hear the same arguments for us funding Ukraine. Well, we need to fund Ukraine because if they get through, because if Russia gets through Ukraine, then they're going to go to Poland. No, they're not. They're not going to do that. They're just not. But
it's well, first of all, they don't want. So this is what they feel, and I'm going to try to saddle up like 50 years of history over there real quick. So when Russia dropped the Iron Curtain, okay, they separated the Iron Curtain because the U.S. said that they would abolish NATO. Okay, so Russia got rid of the Warsaw Pact, which was basically the Iron Curtain. Okay, they really did it, and then the U.S. did not get rid of NATO. They kept NATO going, and they kept expanding NATO, and they said that they would do neither of those things to Russia. Russia brought this to their attention. There was a big thing over this, and the U.S. basically told Russia, well, did you get it in writing? No, you didn't get it in writing, so it's not real. I was like, man, that's a really American. Yeah. I'm not even really mad at that. I don't like it, but that's really American, yeah, right? That's some huevos. That's some huevos. But since then, we've continued to add more and more nations.
Yes, yep.
And now we are on Russia's front door. And Russia only has really most of Russia's major cities and territory that are populated are on the plains. So they don't have anything really stopping anybody from just rolling in there.
Yep.
Napoleon.
Well, that was one of their big things to start this. They wanted to guarantee that Ukraine would not be joining NATO.
Napoleon rolled in there. Poland rolled in there. We're not going to act like that didn't happen. Okay. Who else went in there? Hitler went in there. So Russia's been beating back all these people for years. I understand why many people would be scared of Russia in what you would say is Europe. So Poland and other people over there in that area that are very close to Russia, because if Russia is big and bad, man,
exactly.
If they get mad, they could get hurt.
And they got someone who's not playing with the full deck all the time, so it's hey.
So you want to be able to make sure that you're able to protect yourself, but at the same time, they want to avoid, and you've seen this through what Poland and places like that, and Hungary especially, have been talking about during this whole time with Ukraine. So they're like, listen, we need to arm ourselves, but we also need to be cognizant of the fact that what is going on has some history behind it. But we don't ever address the historical issues, and I can't stand what Zelensky is doing.
I'm not a big fan of that.
I'm not even talking about him stealing all the money or sniffing more white stuff than the elephant that's in a salt mine. Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
It's business 101 though. When you invest money into anything, you want to know where that money's being allocated to. And for us to just give funds to a country who, I don't care what anybody says, debate me on it, they're still a corrupt country, Ukraine. It's just how it is. And it's just, I'm not saying I'm pro Russia. No, not at all. I'm telling you some facts. It's a corrupt country, and it's been. Is it better than it was? Maybe. I don't know. But it's still corrupt. But
it's not better.
It's probably not.
Zelensky said that he scuttled elections, and if you remember when Zelensky first got into office, he got rid of all other media outlets that were not government.
Correct. Yep.
So that was the first thing he did. More recently, they've been attacking Orthodox Christians. They've been burning down Christian churches. They've been arresting and torturing priests. They've been raping nuns. This is real stuff. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. And it's terrifying that we don't talk about that in the West and something needs to be done. Like, these are supposed to be our allies.
Yep.
Allegedly, we're giving them all this money, and look at what they do to their own people. When they got on TV, this whole thing first started, Zelensky said that he closed all the borders specifically so the people couldn't get away, so that Russia wouldn't be able to just roll in and take over Kiev. How do you subjugate your whole people and relegate them to human shields?
Right. I mean that's
To
what we're getting.
human
That's what we're getting
shields.
on the Palestinians
That's
for doing.
what we did. That's what they're talking about
I
in
mean,
Palestine right now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this to me is a very, very serious issue, and more so than that, they force conscripted people. If you remember when we had news reporters over there in the beginning, and then they force all the news reporters out because there's checkpoints everywhere.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
shooting men in the back of the heads and stuff like that because there were men over there that did not want to go into the army. They didn't feel that this was their fight. They wanted to go with their families. So now they've got this big human trafficking problem because they've got all of the women have no men.
Yep.
So many hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have died because of the not only poor policies but complete corruption in the government, knowing that this is not something that they should have done in the manner in which they went about it. Russia has gone and taken all of the territory that they said that they wanted in the beginning.
Exactly.
What did you accomplish except a whole bunch of people?
Nothing. And to say that Biden say, well, it's over when Zelensky wants to be over. We're not going to negotiate. That's crazy because guess what? You sit there and talk about how Netanyahu and Hamas need to talk this out. They need to come to a ceasefire and to come to an end. Well, why aren't you saying that about Russia and Ukraine? Because guess what?
I thought it was to the last man in Russia and Ukraine.
What's that?
Wasn't it that way?
Yeah, right.
Madness.
I mean, it's madness. It's madness to think it. And then when DeSantis and Trump and them say, I'd have this negotiated and over, the people criticize it. Well, what are you, pro-Russia? How did you get that out of them saying that? I mean, it's just, no matter what we fund them, Ukraine isn't going to straight up beat Russia. They're just not going to beat Russia. They're not. This needs to come to an end. Well, it's just that simple.
Well, what's his name? Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name right now. I'm having difficulty pulling it out of my head. Lloyd, that's his name. General Lloyd, somebody Lloyd. No,
that's
general, the big black guy. That's the.
Oh, Austin. Lloyd Austin.
Yeah. So Lloyd Austin said, well, all we're doing is using them to hurt Russia and limit their military capacity. So you're openly admitting that you're funding these people so that they can kill Russian military, so just so that if you felt like it, you could basically turn over Russia.
So you're using human lives to your advantage.
It's human capital, right?
Yeah, that is, I guess.
It's when you look at it like that. So I'm not one of those very emotional people and stuff like that gets emotionally invested in war. I understand that war is hell, so to say. War is really war. It's rough. Hospitals get blown up. Infrastructure gets attacked. Power plants get blown up. Kids die. Family members die. People are tortured, sometimes worse.
Yep.
Okay, I understand that all of that happens in war. I do not condone that type of stuff, but I understand that is part of it. Rape, pillage, and maim. Yeah. That's part of war. That is the literal history of war. And anybody that doesn't acknowledge that is like some wackadoo person.
People who think that groups that aren't even a country are going to follow the rules of war. You're insane. You're insane.
What rules of war?
There's no such thing as rules. It's a war.
This is the problem. And then they're like, oh, well, the UN, this, that, and the third. Who gave the UN the power over the world?
Right. I mean,
I didn't, and I definitely don't want them to have it. I want them to be abolished. If you really don't get me started.
A lot of people want them to be abolished. I mean,
the World Health Organization, the
World Health Organization for sure.
There's other ones. I can't remember the other group. I don't know. The rest of them too. All of them. A lot of them. Okay. Anything that's trying to coordinate and collaborate this concept of
any of this global government stuff has got to go.
We're not. No.
It's ridiculous.
No, not at all. Because you're deciding for everybody else, and again, it goes back to what we were talking about. Everybody with their distinct cultures, with their distinct histories, they cannot possibly be represented. And that's a very serious problem.
Yeah.
Especially when you're saying, oh, well, we're the bestest and we know the bestest. That's why the U.S. right now is still, to this day, not a signatory of the International War Crimes. As a matter of fact, Did you know that we have a bill that Congress passed, this happened some years ago, that says that we can invade the Netherlands if they put one of our people in jail for international war crimes?
Are you serious?
Yes, we can invade them.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy
Because-
bills out there. I was looking at them the other night. I had to stop reading them. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
So there's a lot of stuff like that. So we very well know what we've done. And as my country is my country, I love my country.
Absolutely.
I love my country. I do not always agree with my government, but I love my country. I love my people. But here's the deal. If we do not understand and recognize the history of what war is, and that war is dirty, you will never be able to conceptualize what's going on, because you're looking at it, you're like, oh my goodness, they're killing children. How could they do such a thing?
Two innocent civilians got killed yesterday, and it's gonna happen, unfortunately.
And I don't necessarily buy into everything about they evacuated these people, they told these people to leave, and everything like that. But the point is still being that if you are in a war zone, which all of Gaza is a war zone, let's not get anything twisted. Like there was what? Armor stints. It wasn't even like a whole peace thing. Like they were still technically at war.
Yes, exactly.
Like, so it's a war zone. What do you think is going to happen in a war zone?
Exactly. You don't go out and play Frisbee in a war zone. You just don't. I mean, it's just how it is.
And it's terrible. Yes, it's terrible.
It's awful.
But it is what, and I hate to say this. This is one of my least favorite sayings in English. It is what it is. And the second one is, so it goes.
Yeah, so it goes.
And so it goes. I just,
well, it's a whole thing. Like we were talking about policy earlier, and kind of reverse course here. It goes back to policy. Now people want to say, the left wants to bash MAGA policy. It's MAGA policy. Well, what is MAGA policy? When you look at it, MAGA policy ultimately brings all our thoughts, all our policies, all our, everything back home here, eliminating the need and the necessity to be involved in everybody else's relations. We don't have to, producing our own oil, for example, things like that. Basically, by staying away from globalization. It's ultimately anti-globalization is what MAGA is, which is why this man is hated so much. There's a lot of reasons why he's hated, and it's because he threw a wrench into the machine that was headed towards globalization. We have to do this. We have to do this for this country. And it was a why. And nobody could explain it to his administration. They'd say, why? Well, because we've always done it.
We've always done it that way.
Why do we do it that way?
Yes.
And it's simply, well, I'm going to lower the payments to this country by this. Well, you can't do that. Why? Because we've always done it that way.
Exactly.
And it's simply, why was there no, he was going to start nuclear war. Remember in 2015, 16, he was going to start nuclear war.
Well,
nothing happened.
Did you see the news the other day, MSNBC?
Oh my God, have you heard some of the things?
They're like, oh, well, he referenced Kim Jong-un and he referenced Putin. And yeah, he said that basically he had a better relationship with them, and they wasn't acting a raw fool while he was in office. But now, since we have a weak administration, they're doing whatever they feel like.
Exactly. It was peace through strength. It was really simple.
I'm with that.
I am too. And
the rest of the world is as well.
Exactly. And it's so funny to see the things that are said though. Getting to that, I've heard Hannity played a bunch of, like, literally a loop of a bunch of stuff. I mean, there was one guy, there's going to be firing squads. They're going to take your kids. There'll never be another election again. Wait, this guy's already been president for 4 years. None of this happened.
Well, Chris Cuomo got on he was on something. Maybe it was Bill Maher or something. I think it was Bill Maher. And he was like, well, I could live through another Trump presidency.
Yeah.
He's like, because I've already been through one.
You're right.
But that's the concept, right?
Yeah.
You've already been through it. You've seen what he says he's going to do.
Was your life better? Was the world in a better spot in 2019 or right now?
I think Chris Cuomo said it best. It really wasn't as terrible as everybody tried to say.
Exactly.
It really wasn't. He said the statistics are not lying. That's what he said.
And if you looked at poll numbers before COVID, I mean, he was a shoo-in for a second term. A shoo-in. But, COVID was weaponized, obviously, we know this, and it was used, hey.
Don't get me
It's
started.
BS how they did it, but guess what? They executed it. They won. Now they have a person. And we always say elections have repercussions. Well, yeah, we're seeing those right now. You know, if you were one of those middle ground people where you said, I'm just not going to vote for Trump because yeah, I'm a Republican, but those mean tweets and Biden's going to be a moderate. You gonna fall for that again? You're gonna fall for that again. Biden being a moderate, that's.
So I made it very clear that I'm a Tim Scott, Kirsty Noem individual.
I like both of them.
I think that's the best way forward for our country and also for our party. However, I gotta be honest, I didn't vote for Trump the first time, but after seeing his performance and what he did as president, okay, I voted for him.
Yeah.
I voted for him. I didn't vote for him the first time because he got on the TV and he said that the Russians should hack Hillary Clinton's email. And I was like, whoa, you're too old to know that you're not supposed to say stuff like that.
Right.
That was concerning to me. He kind of lost me there. Otherwise, he would have gotten me.
Yeah.
But during his while he was president, he did things like all presidents that I did not like. I did not agree.
Of course. If
I
you
wish
agree
he
with
would have
everything
been
in your
stronger.
sheet.
Yeah. I wish he would have been stronger on the Second Amendment. I don't think that he was. And again, people forget, and this is what scares me, because Kathy Hochul really made a big deal out of this the last election cycle. She's like, they're trying to take away your abortions on the federal level, but they can't do that.
That was the whole point of this whole thing.
They can't do that. It's a state issue.
Literally, that was the decision.
That was the decision from the Supreme Court that the state is, and we've already got it ingrained in our laws in New York State. But she tried to lie and make the people think this, and so when they think of Trump, they're like, oh well, he says this, oh well, he says that. Well, the question is what is the authority of the office?
Exactly.
Okay, doesn't he have to go through the rest of
Look,
Senate?
MSNBC said he's going to abolish the Congress. How? Tell me how he's going to do that.
There's no way to do that.
There's just no way.
There's no way to do it.
It's impossible.
And nobody is going. Even the people, the most diehard Trump supporters, are not going to support that. So what are you talking about? However, I will say this. They said that he's coming back for vengeance. And I was like, well, geez, you didn't have to sell me out. I wasn't sure I was buying. You kind of.
They said on MSNBC the other night, they said, he's going to take office and he's going to use the DOJ against his opponents. He's going to jail some of his enemies. And I'm thinking,
really?
wait, isn't
that
what's
now, right?
Literally,
Yeah,
I'm like, are these people this crazy that they don't think this is happening right this second as we speak?
Well, but it is happening right this minute as we speak. But people don't want to talk about it, and that's one of the biggest issues that we have right now.
Huge.
So huge.
I mean, this is what we're seeing it's unprecedented.
You want to know the most crazy thing? And right now going on in Georgia right now, there is a special session, and I can't remember whose office it's under that's holding it, but it's like a special hearing. And what they're doing is they're going back and they're looking at the election results for 2020.
Yes, yep.
Because they found like 14,753
a lot.
Invalid votes.
Yep,
which is way more than the 4,000 that Trump was talking about. Which now here's where let me tie it together here. Which they just had that verdict come out for Giuliani, saying that Giuliani hurt these women's feelings.
Yes, those two women.
Because he said that there was stuff going on.
They were stuffing ballots,
and it was hurt their feelings, and it made them look bad, and all of this. Now he's got to pay
them
$125 million, which I think is crazy outside the realm of reality. But it also goes to show, while that is happening, the state, which I don't like the way that the state handled that whole situation to begin with. The state of Georgia is having an open hearing today where you can come in, anybody. They have invited everybody to come in and watch what's going on as they present this information.
It goes back to the when you're debating with someone on the left and they say, well, there's no Trump claimed that for the 2020 election with absolutely no evidence. But wait, there actually was evidence. Plenty of evidence. No, well, the judges threw it out. No, they didn't. The judges refused to hear the cases. That's big difference between them listening to a case and saying, no, that's not true. They didn't hear. So now with Trump's case in Georgia, I don't think they're going to want to move forward with it because he's licking his chops. He's going to get to litigate the entire election in front of everybody during that trial.
Well, so this goes back to, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. This goes back to the big girl that I saw at the county ledge meeting, And she was all, well, we shouldn't be funding these people, we shouldn't be funding those people. And I'm like, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And she's like, well, everybody's here tonight. She's there for the pro-Palestine
Yeah.
nonsense. Okay. The anti-Christian, anti-police.
Well, that's the whole thing. They're not just
anti-American.
pro-Palestine.
Right.
They're
all of these other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that really don't even
Oh,
mix and match.
They
but
don't
whatever.
even mix and match, which is a separate
Yeah.
conversation for another day. But she's saying, oh, well, all of these people are here because everything is expensive. And I said, and that's why we need to talk about lowering taxes and actually getting rid of the way that we do monetary policy.
Yeah.
She's like, no, we just need to pay everybody more money. You can't do that because that's going to increase inflation.
Right? Oh,
and
that's
it's gonna
all
make
we got to
people struggle
do.
more.
Let's do it then. I mean, it's just insanity. Oh wow. I mean, I don't
Policy.
Yes, again.
This is policy. But we've got other people out there, the working families keeps pushing this insanity, and I keep getting on them. I haven't heard you once say end the Fed. Say end the Fed, working families party.
Yeah, right.
If you're out there, you're listening to me, you really care about these people.
And the Fed.
End the Fed.
Yep.
Say it. Say it out your mouth. End the Fed. And I'm not saying that I'm saying end the Fed, so if you are listening, don't come after me for that.
Yeah.
I'm also not saying that I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if somebody actually cared about the value of our money and was really going so hard, maybe they'd do that, because personally, we need to get rid of Janet Yellen and make reforms at the Department of Treasury first. However, all of the people that are yelling end the Fed have a much better conception than these people from the Working Families Party that are talking about, oh, we just need to increase minimum wage.
Not to mention, you live in New York State. I mean, New York State, okay, I got the quick story for you. So Winchester. So they're located in Herkimer, I believe, or Oneonta, one of the two. So that's their biggest plant in the United States right there. It's where they started, it's huge. So they decide, you know what, we're closing up the shop. They send a letter to all the radio stations, all the TVs, to read, and the letter says pretty much, actually it says exactly this. It says, we regret to inform you that we're closing our original shop here, and it's like 400 and something jobs in a little town. He said, because we are moving and expanding our operation down in Georgia to our Georgia factory, a state that is much more friendly for business and the Second Amendment.
This is it. And it's a serious problem. I love my state. I love New York.
Yeah, I mean, that town's screwed.
I love New York, but the policies that are being implemented here are so authoritarian.
So
fascist, right? But you can't say that.
It's a fact. I mean,
it's like people don't own dictionaries anymore.
No, people that yell fascist at someone who doesn't believe in big government.
It's like the people, they're like Antifa. So that itself means that
anti-fascist and
the Antifa, not the anti-fascist, which is separate, which somehow sounds very similar,
right?
Which now makes me, because I didn't pick that up when it originally started and come out. I didn't pick it up immediately.
Yeah.
But now I've got even more questions to go back, and that more funding and stuff needs to really be looked at, and who really kicked up and cooked up all these schemes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they're like Antifa, right? So basically that means an armed rebellion, insurrection against the government. So you're out here proclaiming that, tearing down American flags. You, to me, are an enemy combatant of the United States of America. You openly declared war on my country. I don't understand how these people aren't being taken down. I
mean, if you look at the definition of insurrection, it literally is, it's an armed uprising against our government establishments. Now, when these people in BLM or Antifa or whatever, when they took over those federal courthouses and those police precincts, they literally were insurrectionists. Not like January 6th insurrectionists. They were literally armed insurrectionists. They tried to lock police in a freaking precinct and light them on fire. I mean, that's insanity right there. We saw no charges come from it. So when you are attacking federal courthouses, when you are attacking, law precincts of whether the federal, local, state, whatever, you are actually involved in an insurrection per the definition. So for them to say, oh, well, you walked through the Capitol, you're an insurrectionist. But these people were fighting for a good cause, so it's okay that they tried to burn down a federal courthouse. It's truly insanity to me that anybody with a working brain would say, Yeah. That guy who walked to the Capitol, he's way worse. Way worse. Especially knowing now that there probably hasn't been a worse 3-year span as far as deaths for black people in the city, in the inner cities, as far as violence and crime than there has over the last 3 years. And that stems from all that and all the changes our government made because they folded to such protests and riots and things like that. Right here in New York State, we have the less is more, we have the bail reform, we have all this stuff, and all of that has contributed to what we see. And it's like, don't look here, don't look at those statistics lie. Oh, well, this year we're only going to have about 60 murders. It's way down from the record 80 we had a couple years ago. But no, we had 28 and 29 in 2018 and 19.
Check this out. The definition of Antifada. Insurrection, usually violent attempt to take control of a government.
Yes, yep.
That is the actual definition
Of Antifada.
So
They're the good guys?
And that's what they're chanting.
That's what they think.
They're chanting, we're going to overthrow the government, It doesn't make any sense, and for me, it's very, very concerning. We go back to the weaponization of the DOJ. We see how they're not prosecuting any of these people for their violent acts. We see how governments all around, especially municipal governments, are giving all of these people all of these various monies and stuff like that. And it's outrageous when they've got people that, for instance, for January 6th issues, that were not even anywhere near the Capitol that they arrested.
Well, look at how they labeled the Shaman, the January 6th Shaman, whatever they call him. With the,
I had to apologize to him.
I
had to.
I did too. I mean, everybody. But the fact that they can do that they could manipulate and not show tape to now that judge was very upset that they withheld that evidence from him for sentencing, and now he's out. But I mean, the fact is, if Tucker
he's running for what is it, Congress?
Yep.
Right.
But if that didn't come out and Tucker didn't play that and all that, he'd still be sitting in a jail cell.
I first saw it was a couple days after. I want to say it was NTD that covered it. Okay. They were showing the footage and stuff of him telling everybody to be peaceful and stuff like that. And I had to post a thing retracting my statements about him. I was misled.
Right.
And honestly, it didn't look good, dude. Jacob, that didn't look good at all.
No, because all they show him screaming,
Yeah, and he was dressed crazy. You were dressed crazy. Bro, come on.
But he leads a prayer in the room for the police officers, for the Capitol office. He literally led a prayer for them, keep them safe, this and that. And you see that video and you're thinking, wait a minute, I hated this guy 5 minutes ago.
I was in an X space with him the other day talking to him.
Really?
About him and him running for Congress and stuff like that, and how he was going to run and stuff like that. I think that when he was talking, I was like, man, I think that a lot of what he's saying is on point.
Yeah.
Again, I don't agree with everybody about everything.
Of course not. Yeah.
Strategy-wise, I think he's going to lose, just because he doesn't want to take financing from anybody.
Oh yeah, it's tough.
But I support that.
I respect it.
Stand on business, right? Like, he's like, I don't think there should be money in government like that. He's like, I'm not accepting any money. My man stands on business. Yeah. I can't be mad at that. You're not gonna win, but I can't be mad at that, and I appreciate you standing by what you say. And for me, as somebody who is a Christian, who is religious, and I try to tell everybody about this all the time, when they say, oh, well, you can't judge other people. Yes, you can. The whole Bible is about judging. New Testament, Old Testament, all of it is about judging somebody, not only by their actions, but by the laws that the Lord has commanded us. Now, what Jesus says is, if we take the example of the cast the first stone situation, what he says there is, he goes through a whole list, right? Yep. He's like, well, if you didn't do this, if you didn't do that, if you didn't do this, then you cast the first stone. And what the point there is that with that being said, and this is the important part, with that being said, we must hold others to the same standards in which we are holding ourselves.
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah. No, yes, exactly. You're right. And it's when it comes to morals, values, things like that, if people don't, if your morals and values on par with what you believe is good, what your parents have raised you with society, things like that, and you see someone who distorts those and who doesn't practice, say, you have every right to say, I don't want to be around this person. Like, this person is not, it's not a good look. It's not this. It's not going to help me in any way. I mean, there used to be a saying all the time: show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right? So I mean, that's a great point. If you get involved with the wrong people,
what is it? It's paraphrasing. Bad company corrupts good character.
Yes, exactly. Now now here's the problem I do have with him not taking that money and stuff. Us as conservative Republicans, a lot of times we,
he's a libertarian. Yep. I mean, to everybody out there, he is not us. He is a libertarian. Yes. That is very important.
Now, for the groups though that are, they do have faith in God, this and that, they tend to say, okay, well, I'm not going to, even though this is, legal and allowed to be done during the campaign, I'm not going to do it because I don't believe it's right. Now, unfortunately, that has resulted in a lot of losses for the Republican Party. Yes. But for example, in California, we had a rep, or he is a congressional rep now because he won, but he was not doing very well in the polls, and he said, you know what, I wasn't going to do ballot harvesting because I don't believe in it, but if they're going to do it, I'm doing it too. And he worked it better than they did, and he ended up winning. It comes to show sometimes you have to, like with the early voting, we have to get out and vote. Unfortunately, it's not ideal. It's not what I would choose to do. It's not what a lot, but if it's there, you got to utilize it. Because what happens if on election day you have an emergency and you can't get to the voting booth?
I voted early. I voted early twice. I voted early the first year that they did early voting, and I voted early last year. I'm one of those day of voters, but I also understand the importance of encouraging other people to get out and vote. And if we have that as an option, people, especially if you're conservative or Republican or independent, you need to get out there and you need to vote. We've got all of this extra time to get out and vote.
Yeah, there's no excuse not to.
There's no excuse not to. Gone are the days, at least in New York State, where it's day of voting. And then we have to look at places like, for instance, Maricopa County. There's always, and he's running for part of Maricopa County too.
Really?
Funny,
That's funny.
So, it's interesting how they had all of their machines went down again during last election. They always seem to have problems,
I mean, come on.
It's just there, and I can't remember the district in Pennsylvania. It's like all the time.
It's the same ones.
It's the same ones.
And it seems like every single race that all of a sudden, we can't call it, goes out a week or two. Why does every single one of those races end up going to Democrats? It just boggles my mind for a minute. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying there's fraud there. I'm just saying that's one heck of a coincidence that they're not. Oh, some go right, some go left. No, they just seem to all be going left at the end.
The problem is that it's not clear to the people, which has discouraged many people from voting right or left. It doesn't matter. Many people are like, listen, these elections look very murky. Okay?
Yes.
I don't think I want to vote, and I encourage all of you to do not be dissuaded by what's going on.
That's
what they want.
Yes, exactly. That's what people want.
It's easier for them to manipulate a victory in their own favor if you do not come out and vote.
Exactly.
You
got to get out there and vote, and it's unfortunately, but fortunately, if there's enough people get out there and vote, and you make it a landslide victory, you're gonna win. You know what I mean? If you can put those numbers out there for your candidate, and everybody gets out and votes, you can't manipulate something like that. But I don't ever want to hear the words again, we found more ballots here. So it's like, wait, where did you find those ballots? And you hear it for every one of those counties or whatever that come out, that go long, that start taking 3, 4, 7 days. It's like, we found more ballots in this county. Why? Wait, why did you find more ballots in that county? I want to know.
Or all of the mail-in ballots that were found in a ditch in Los Angeles.
Insane.
No, we can't talk about that.
Biggest mistake ever was allowing that, just send out unsolicited ballots to everybody.
Or the trains of fake, I can't say that they're fake, but let's say, interestingly found ballots in Pennsylvania that were just on trains. I don't, that doesn't make sense to me.
Or the 100,000 ballots in Michigan that just literally only had a presidential vote and had none of the votes underneath it for any of the down ballot people.
how dare you ever suggest that in, where was it, Philadelphia?
Yeah.
That somebody would at 3 a.m. after pipes bursting, after putting pizza
Right.
boxes on windows.
I mean, that should tell you everything. The pizza box thing right there alone should be like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Why would you do that? Like, what's the reasoning for that?
Yeah. Pull it, you know, nobody just pulled ballots from under a table, and even though it's on film, I mean,
Right.
it just did not happen.
And it's not, and the thing is, Philly, it just didn't start with Philly. Philly's been doing this for years.
They had
years
multiple
and
people.
years.
They have had multiple people that had precinct wardens, I think you call them, right? Or aldermen or whatever they call them down there. You know, because they call them different in each place. Have been arrested for this. There was one guy, this happened this year, as a matter of fact. He was arrested for going back over like 10, 15 years for bribing judges and stuff like this in regards to signing off on things as far as elections go that they didn't have no business, that weren't right, and all types of malfeasance. So to tell me that there's nothing going on there, it's crazy. It's crazy. Then I'm from Monroe County. I can remember for years, before I even got into politics, almost every single year, and in the one, it was either last year or the year before, Democrats suing Democrats over election results, okay, all the time.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All the time. So you mean to tell me that there couldn't possibly be an issue?
No, wait, when you have all these videos of an election surrogate walking out of a nursing home with a stack of ballots like this big, and it's like, you just went around to a bunch of elderly individuals, and without, if you're gonna go in there, my opinion is you need to have a Democrat and a Republican go into those nursing homes, and if you're gonna do it that way, and they need to be together when these people are filling out ballots, because it's just, I mean, come on, if you can't manipulate a 98-year-old with dementia.
Well, but that's what they do, and most of these places are heavily. So there's this. We also have this issue where we have it like the what do you call them things? The parades, right? You can't be in the parade unless you're an elected official. So if you're running for office, you can't be in the parade, but the elected officials can, so they get more eyeballs. So many of these places are, you can only be in there doing something like that if you are an elected official, which is also shame. Yeah. But that's a whole nother separate conversation. But, and I'm gonna say this, and I need to reiterate this to anybody that's listening or watching. Make sure you go vote. Do not let any of this deter you. Do not let anybody saying that.
Everybody, I'm talking Democrat, Republican, everybody. Go vote. Make it fair.
Go vote. You have to vote, because if you are concerned about the way that the election system is, you need to be telling your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, your mama, your next door neighbor, your enemy up the street. You need to be telling everybody to get out and vote so that you can overwhelm it with numbers. That's the only way to beat this.
Exactly. And if you do see something weird, report it. But I mean, and you've heard that in the commercials. If you see something weird, report it, and you should, because that's the only way things will. You see something weird. Imagine now that's going to happen a million times after you leave too. Just, if you see something weird, I'm not saying you will. Most likely you won't. But
so to that note, I'm going to give a shout out to the Monroe County Board of Elections, where we are in Rochester, Monroe County. I encourage all of you that do care about the integrity of our elections in Monroe County to go sign up with the county to be a what do you call it?
An election official, a poll monitor.
Is it a poll monitor? Or
poll
inspector?
Poll monitor, inspector, something like that.
Whatever
either way, you get it.
Either way, site monitor, whatever they have, because they need more of them. They don't have enough, especially if you're conservative or Republican. There aren't enough of our people going out and doing it.
No, and you need to have equal amount of people there.
They're getting way more Democrats that are doing it than Republicans. So Republicans, conservatives, blanks, go out and do it, even though it's not so much to blanks.
Yeah, I got an email saying that they needed Republicans especially.
Need Republicans. People, you got to get involved in your elections. You got to. You got to make sure that you get. It's a long day. It's an 18-hour day.
You get paid.
You get paid, right? You get paid good. I think it's $22 or $24 an
hour. I know you get paid. You get paid though.
$24 an hour. Yeah, and it's 22 now, I believe.
All right.
But I think it's going up to 24. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys go let me know. But go talk to them and ahead of time now, right? Because we're like in advance. But we are going to need people in April to start getting ready for the primaries.
Yeah.
We got the primaries coming up, the presidential primaries, people. The thing that everybody's so concerned about. If you're so concerned about the direction our country is going, go out, go to the Monroe County Board of Elections, sign up to be an election official. Just do it. Do it. And they got to give you the day off.
Yeah,
okay?
they do. They have to
your
legally.
job
Yep.
Legally has to
Yep.
give you the day off to do that.
Legally,
so it's like jury duty.
Yeah, it is.
No, seriously, yeah.
No,
yeah,
it absolutely
yeah.
is. They have to give you a day off. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why one election day really would work, because they should be a national holiday, in my opinion.
Yep.
National holiday. Everybody's off. You vote one big. But hey, that's neither here nor there right now, I guess.
But no. To get into more things as far as elections and stuff goes, this is something I always like to try to drive home to people. Make sure that if you are concerned and you are registered Republican or Democrat in New York State, and I don't know how it is in other states, but those are the only two real parties that we have. We've got them, and then we've got like the Working Family.
Yeah, you can sign conservative. Yeah.
So if you've got one of those four affiliations in New York State, go join your local committee.
Mm-hmm.
So you can understand what's happening in your political arena. The local committees are the lowest level. It's like your neighborhood or your city or county committee, and those are the people who talk about the politics and the people that are going to run in your areas. So you need to be making sure that you're actually getting involved if you care.
And remember, if you're independent, you can't vote in the primary. So if you're an independent and you say, well, I normally vote Democrat, or I normally vote Republican, but I'm an independent. You might, if you do normally vote one way, you might want to consider changing to that group, because then you can actually have your voice heard in the primaries. And that's important. It's really important, to be honest, because you know how far, away these parties are now. You could be on the far left of the Democratic Party or in the center, and you're farther away than someone who's in the middle of the Democratic Party and on the Republican side. Because you are so far away from each other in your views, and you're in the same party. So, and it's just, so there might be two guys going against each other that one of them, you can't stand his policies. So you want to be able to get in that and vote in that and have your voice heard.
That's how the far left progressive socialists have taken over the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. It's going crazy.
It's exactly that. And we can see the infighting in them right now. There are those who finally recognize that they're an issue, trying to push back against it. Thank the Lord. But they don't have any real ground to stand on. They don't have the animation of these crazy far left people.
No.
They don't have the support of the general public because they haven't been standing up for decades.
They've mastered social media, the far left, because they're younger and this and that. So they go right to social media and run with everything. You're right.
It's something that we really need to address. And moving forward with all of the things that we've got happening in our nation, I'd like to bring up something else. We briefly mentioned California for a second. And I mentioned before how Gavin Newsom passed a bill that makes it legal for illegal aliens to join the police force. Or
that's.
So now, guess what? Now LA is graduating their first class of DACA recipients.
Wow.
So now, I don't know if it's all DACA recipients or if it's all illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I hope it's DACA.
Yeah, okay? Me too.
Because they've been here longer, they know more about the culture, they're more in tune with our nation as a nation.
Yep.
But if it's just random illegal aliens, we can't have that because they're not our culture. They can't even take the guns home at night.
Right.
Because they're not able to legally own firearms in our country. And how would you feel if you got somebody that's not even an American holding a gun, pulling a gun on you,
right?
Telling you that you disobeyed a law to a country that they're not even a citizen of.
How can you enforce laws that you have no part of, that you probably don't even understand to the fullest extent? And that's insane to me. That is absolutely insane to me. It's almost as insane as New York City allowing illegal aliens to vote, for their local elections. It's crazy.
It did get tossed out, but they are also trying to bring it back. So that's another fight that's going on right now.
Yes. Yep. But you're seeing, first of all, what we're seeing at the southern border is unsustainable. And I have a weird feeling, call me crazy, that next year with the polls the way they're going, you're going to see all of a sudden, Biden say, okay, we're going to secure that southern border. We're going to take care of things. We're going to do this. We're going to enforce some laws. We're going to lower these rates at an all time. They raised them fast. Now they're going to lower them fast. And
did you see Katie Hobbs talk? Oh my goodness, talking about Arizona and the border. So Katie Hobbs just sent down the National Guard to the border. For what reason?
Yeah.
And as much as we know that she's all for open borders and stuff like that, I can't imagine that she's sending the National Guard down there to secure the
To
border.
give them water?
I think she's doing that to let them in.
Yeah,
To
probably.
let them in.
Yes. But that's the thing. It's like,
It's
in order,
insane.
we've done more at the southern border than, but what you do is you just make sure you can process them faster. That's your solution to everything. We got to process them faster.
Processing them down.
No, and by processing, I mean saying, hey, what's your name? Okay, go ahead. Here's a phone. Go ahead. It's
crazy.
They are, I can't remember how many cases behind. They said it's an astronomical number. It's
So
astronomical
the number,
number.
well, if we look at it like this, something like 87 to 89% of the cases when they do
Will
end up
never even
going-
happen. Yeah.
Well, when they do go to court,
Mhm.
they end up getting thrown out because they don't qualify.
Yeah.
They don't qualify for any type of asylum or anything
No,
else.
exactly.
So, I mean, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We know that there's such an influx. They've talked about right now they're shutting down the international railways with Mexico. So that's happening.
Yeah.
They're shutting down the international railways with Mexico. You know how much product? And I don't
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
right?
don't mean no,
You don't mean,
okay,
yeah.
I don't
Not
mean no
cartel
scamming.
product.
You know, I'm talking about regular products like food, materials for cars.
Well, you do
cars
know
themselves, and stuff like
asylum's supposed to be claimed at real points of entry. I
that.
mean,
Port of entry? Oh no, what?
it's just but
No.
hey,
Or in the country that you go to, the
first country. So if you leave Guatemala and you
no.
hit Mexico, boom, that's where you're going.
Oh,
It's the first
no.
country that isn't war torn or whatever. It's so when you hit Mexico, that's where your asylum is. That's where you go.
All I'm saying is it's a lot of Americans moving down to Mexico. So something must be up about Mexico.
Right.
Maybe y'all want to stay in Mexico. You stay in Mexico. I do support the stay in Mexico thing that Trump did.
Absolutely.
Okay, because I always thought that we should put a border wall at the end of Mexico instead of at northern Mexico. I thought that was
Right.
the wrong place. You know, it's much
Well,
shorter. We really could
I think
Mexico
processing centers and all that stuff should be on the other side of the river, so they don't get across already. It just would make more sense. But hey,
Well, I don't think anybody that comes through Mexico should be able to get in to begin with.
no, of course
Okay,
not. I mean,
because we look at this and we've got a lot of Mexican Americans and stuff like that, and there's a rich history of it, cultural exchange. And,
immigration is
and
a
stuff
necessity,
like that.
but
so they're not even coming over here like that anymore. It's not them. It's all these other countries, and people think that it's
how many other
it's not.
countries?
All of them.
Yeah,
Literally
basically
all of them.
everyone.
Literally,
literally.
all of them. Every single country we
Yep.
we have gotten people from every single country in the world through our southern border.
including tons of Iranians, including tons of Chinese, including. I mean,
Don't get me
it's
started.
insane. It's insane.
The Chinese is a whole episode into it.
Yeah, right. We could literally talk for an
Oh,
hour
my
on that.
goodness. Oh my goodness. It's absolutely abysmal what's going on right now. But for me, when it comes to us talking about the border, I always talk about what about the refugees? The refugees in refugee camps
Right.
that can't get over here, okay, that have been waiting for years, some even decades.
What about the Cuban refugees? What about the Cuban people? Do you remember all that happening? And then it's just like the media just didn't show it anymore. Like
Yeah.
the last year.
Yeah,
I mean, it was going
Or
crazy. in the
Haiti.
street. It's like, yeah, exactly. And there's a political reason for that, of course, but I don't know. You're more willing to take over, a military aged male who's perfectly healthy who just says I want to come over,
Nope.
than you are a family that is literally from a war torn country. That's it's insanity to me.
No skills, no entry. We got enough people here that don't have any skills that need basic entry level jobs. So we've got these people that allegedly want to work, and I'm saying allegedly because I got a lot to say on them, but we don't have a lot of time because they don't really want to work, most of them. Okay, but allegedly want to work, so you figure most of them don't know the language, most of them don't have any type of skills or anything like that. So who would they be competing with jobs for? They'd be competing for basic entry level or menial work jobs, which is what the average American could get, because the average American only has a high school degree. Many don't even have a high school degree, and they still need to work. So now you're going to be fighting with an illegal alien to get that $25 an hour job at McDonald's.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have a friend of mine whose wife is she's Israeli. She came over here. She's a doctor. She was getting ready to start up her own oral surgery business. When they were going to, she didn't complete whatever she had to do on time. They were talking about deporting her. They ended up getting married so she could stay. But my point is I'm like, this lady. I mean, she literally is
no,
really important to society, and she's a doctor.
No.
She's gonna have an oral surgery place, and they want to get rid of her though.
Don't talk to me about the visa process and the H1B1 and the
Yeah.
E3 and the rest of it, because you said Australia, right?
Israel.
Oh,
She's from
Israel.
Israel.
I forget what their visa is that they have. Australia is E3. But the H1B1 is like Nicaragua and stuff down over there. And they got a couple other ones too. And India somehow works into that somewhere in there also. But it's weird, right? Like we got so many people with all these different degrees that have graduated that aren't able to get jobs in their field, but you're flooding our country with these people from other countries to do the jobs that our people should be doing. Matter of fact, and people don't remember this, and I encourage you to go look this up about Trump, okay? So it's called the Tennessee Valley Authority. Go look that up. Go look up what Trump did with the Tennessee Valley Authority. So what happened is there are a whole bunch of people there. Basically, they're a quasi-governmental agency, okay, that control like power and dams and stuff like that, essentially. Okay, down there in that area, you know. So basically what happened is they had all of these people, Americans that were working for them, and they had them training these Indians that they had brought over here from Indian. Okay, red dot, not feather. Okay, so they've been training all of them to take their jobs, and they're paying them less. So when they complained to Trump about it, and he heard what was going on, he got rid of everybody and overhauled the whole thing. Because that's insane.
That's insanity.
That's insanity.
Right? I mean, talk about. Wow, I don't even know what to say. That's some crazy.
Look it up, people. Tennessee Valley Authority.
Yeah, see, something like that's a good read. You guys should look that up because I mean, things like that. It's good to know. It's good for discussion. It's good for debate. It's good for a lot of things. Yeah, looks like honestly, time's coming to an end here.
Well, it's been fun with you guys.
It's been great to be back. So,
man, listen, man, we missed you so heartily, man.
I appreciate it. You bet. I got nothing but thumbs up over the last month. So
I appreciate you.
But it'll be you and I moving forward, I guess. So
we got this, brother. We got this. So thank you for listening to us. This has been The Divide on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. Here with me, Marcus C. Williams, and
Brian McKenzie. See you next week.
All right, we'll catch you later. Be blessed and be well.
That was a fun show. That's good. I like that.
It really was good.
I really like that. What, my phone died or something? That was great. My phone died in the middle of the live broadcast. That's all right. You had it going.
I had it going.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.